Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're still doing our pandemic projects, unfortunately. Unfortunately because the pandemic is still around, not because I don't enjoy doing these. But here's one that just came in. Came in from Willie, and this is following a theme lately. I've got a reel in a bag. And that usually happens because somebody starts, loses a little bit of track in terms of what they were doing, and then has that oh no moment in life where you know, you just hope that somehow it can get back together and take you fishing. And in this one in particular, I can understand that. This is a Daiwa 9000C. It's a beautiful reel, and we're going to do our best to see if we can't get it back together again. Now, one of the first things you want to do, if you find yourself, maybe you're at a flea market, or maybe you searched online, or maybe somebody gave you one of these, whether it's this reel or another one, it happens to be in pieces. First thing you want to do is go out on the internet, get the schematic. They're widely available. I find a great resource for this is Mike's Reel Repair. That's one word, Mike's Reel Repair. They're up in Vancouver, Canada. They have a great library of schematics, and if the parts are available, they generally have the parts as well. So go out and do that. That'll give you the exploded diagram, and it'll show you how the reel pieces come together. You need a little bit of intuition on some of these, but for the most part it'll tell you how it comes together, and that's what we're going to try and do, is follow these instructions to kind of put it back together. So before I get started, a couple of things. First, I want to thank the first responders and essential personnel that are out doing what you're doing best during this pandemic, trying to keep us all safe and trying to help us solve this crisis. And for that, we are truly appreciative of that. For the rest of us that are not in that category, then we need to do our part too. We need to wear our masks, keep our social distance, and do what the authorities are asking us to do, so that we can all help stop the spread of this disease and get back to whatever normal is going to be. Alright, so I'm just kind of starting basically just looking at some pieces. I'm going to try and make this thing tune up too. We're going to assume that we can get it back together. So one of the things we got here is a little bit of a sticky handle. So I'm just going to hit that with some penetrating oil. It usually works its way in and quiets that down. Let's take a look at what we have here. We have a main body. We have the crosswind gear. I think that's a counterweight that belongs inside the spool. It does, or the rotor. That's going to belong here, and again I can refer to the pictures if needed. That's a counterweight to offset the balance on this thing. We have a rotor. That's a good thing. We have the crosswind gear. Not sure where that's going to go, but we'll find out. We have the anti-reverse ratchet that's going to go up top. This looks like the spool, or the nut that's going to hold the rotor on. There's a couple of indented screws which look like they're going to hold the little case here. This looks like a set that'll probably go on top of the in the spool area. Yep, that's gonna, well, we're gonna find that out. We're gonna kind of work our way backwards. We're just trying to identify parts at the moment. Here's why you need the counterweight on the other side, because you have a weight that's pretty substantial. We have the arm. This is not free spooling at all. That's a little bit of a problem. We'll take that off and try and set the bail there. This may be a couple of stop starts here. Side plate, so we should have a bearing for that side plate. Main gear. Bearing of bushing. Here's a bushing, maybe that's that side plate. Main shaft with the star adjuster nut on it. Let's take that off. Put that in the case. So these, I think people are just trying to stump me some days, and that's why I get these being the way they are. Spool looks okay. This one, I believe, goes in the back here. Let's see. that goes behind the crosswind gear. Here's a screw. So that one's going to go in here. Of course, if you can put pieces on as you play along here, it's even better, but that's the bushing for that. And then just a whole bunch of screws. So let's just grab a separate container for these screws. Screws and springs. Looks like that bail spring is beat up a little bit there. I'm not sure what we're going to be able to do with that. Alright, so I think the first thing we want to do is just continue doing what he did. We're going to pull this assembly out here. He left some of the pieces together here. So what I think is going to happen, we're going to do a series of stop-starts on this just because we're going to have to get back to the steps here. I want to remove this because he did ask me to do a general cleanup on it as well. I'll pull that pinion gear. I'll clean that up. These three I'm just going to lay on the table. I don't want to confuse them anymore with the screws that we have in the tray itself. And we're going to, as I mentioned, we'll probably end up stopping this more than once. As we go about trying to identify pieces and parts and where they belong. Once you pull that collar, you should be able to pull that bearing. So we're continuing on our quest to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I cleaned up some of the parts, so let's start with what we can logically assume belongs where it belongs, and we'll get crazy from there. So this is the pinion gear. We took that off. We've soaked the bearing in oil. Let's lubricate up that pinion gear. Place the grease that we took off of there. Get it on the bottom, which is going to ride in this carrier inside the base here. A little bit on the shaft where the bearing is going to ride. Then we can place that bearing in there. And again, we've already oiled that. Let's go ahead and bring that through. Like that. Let's grab that collar again. Now I did, while I was playing around here cleaning things up, I did move this spring back. Move it back, it's in the way now, so try and move that up as I put the collar back on, and I'll move it down again. Then we have the 3 collar screws that'll hold the pinion gear in place. So let's get those back in. And Willie did a good job of taking every piece and part off of this reel. I'm not quite sure why, but we'll go up next and try and see what else we can find in that parts tray there. And hopefully we can get it all back together. Always a challenge. Sometimes they're more fun than other times. Sometimes you get a variation on a reel and you start wondering because it's not on the blueprint. I had somebody with that one the other day bring in a Pen 10, which is the high-speed version of the Pen 9, and they were looking for the override switch. It's similar to the one on the Squitter for the anti-reverse override, and it wasn't there. And there was a little footnote from Pen that said the early ones that they made back in 1984 did not have that override switch. In 1985 they went to it. So in the meantime we're all scratching our heads trying to figure out why it wasn't there and so on. Okay, and we should have that. So I'm going to take that piece of the tag end here, and I'm not sure which side it belongs on, but I'm going to put it back where it was. Okay, that's that part. So now we've got this rotor, and they took the clutch off for that anti-reverse gear. I'm not quite sure why, but it's off. That's a non-maintenance item. So I guess what we have to do is see the orientation on this, because it's going to ride on the back of the rotor here. No, that's wrong. That's right, because your teeth, you want to find your teeth. So this has got to be facing this way on your rotor. Then we have our 3 screw holes, so they're going to be up top here. So I pulled the 3 corresponding screws out of the bucket. Let's go put that back on. Would be one I would think you probably don't want to over tighten them yet, because you need some play underneath there to get the other 2 aligned properly. One more. We can tighten them all up there. Okay, we got that down. Now I think it's best to work on the bail before we go to the putting that back on here. So there's a bail spring. This would be it. Hopefully it's not overextended. Kind of rides like this. Let's go find that bail. So we have the bail, and I think, just trying to figure out the orientation on this. Let's see if we can break this screw off here. This is off camera, I apologize, I need some leverage. Alright, so we have the bail. The bail is going to sit, it's going to find that hole in the bail with your wire. Then you need to press down. Yep. Not always easy. You want to set the one tag in there, you want to find the other one. There's a hole inside. Alright, maybe inside the hole is the first piece we want to do here. Okay, just trying to get the orientation right on this. Alright, so we want to take that tag end, and that goes in that little hole. I want to grab the main arm now. And I'm looking through, trying to hold with the one hand, get it into the hole of the arm with the other, and still show it to you. So you want to put the tag end in, then you can hold the screw, look for that little hole in the bail arm, get that set, then you need to press down and over. In order to load that. And I think the best way to do this, just making sure I have the right screw here for this bail before we get started. I do. All right, take the tail end of the screw, put that in, hold it with your forefinger. Look for the hole underneath, it's right there. Bring this over. You want to rotate it. Press it in, and this is off camera, and I'm going to apologize. I just don't have the strength to do this without doing it this way. Okay, I needed to take my glove off for that. I just didn't have the agility, but that's the spring loaded. And you'll see, I'm going to hold that spring so it doesn't shoot out, but you'll see how this spring operates in moving the bail back and forth. So let's go find the cover for that. Not seeing that, we'll have to come back to the cover. All right, the other side gets a counterweight and it has the cover on it. So that sits like this. And we just have to find the right screw. Not sure if that's the right screw, but it kind of looks like it. Now we got to find that plate. Okay, so we're going to move on now. We're going to try and do some of the internals. I've cleaned up the crosswind block. I've located the crosswind block screw, cleaned up the main gear, have a bushing that goes with that. So let's go see if we can't put the internals together on this. I'm going to start by doing the crosswind gear. Just going to go grab a brush, get some grease, put it on the back of it, get it on the teeth. Probably should have my glove on at this point. Gonna set that over the stud. And we'll load that screw in there. And we can put a little bit of grease onto the face of this where that crosswind block is going to ride. Just tighten that down, make sure it spins properly. That's a little tight. Seems like it's a little off balance. And I don't see a shim washer. See if there's a washer that belongs behind that. Nope, that would be a direct mount. That's interesting. Let's see what happens when we put the main gear in. So this would call for let's just put that in and see what happens here. Oops. Seems to be turning fine. Okay, we're going to put the crosswind block in next. Load that with some grease. Put some grease onto the main. Get the crosswind block all greased up. Crosswind block slips under the anti-reverse override piece. My next challenge here is finding the screw that goes in the crosswind block. Okay, let's put that rotor back on then. So rotor goes on the shaft. Make sure you have your anti-reverse in the off position. That way you'll get the rotor on properly. Then we have this keyway section. You line that up with the rotor first, and then you rotate it so that you can fit in the stud there, and the little tie-down washer, and we have the top nut. Then we can grab this and tighten that down, give it a spin. Now that's rotating nicely. Turn the anti-reverse on. We have the anti-reverse. Wonderful. Okay, so the next up would be the crosswind block back on again, and I must have knocked that off when I was going to set the rotor on. We'll grab the axle shaft. We should probably put a little bit of grease on this. There's a hook on the axle shaft that needs to face this way when you're going in. There's going to be a screw that's going to go through there, and that'll marry up with the indentation in the crosswind block. And you can load the screw for that. Let's see if we needed to put that main gear in first. We probably did. Nope, we can put it in afterwards. Sometimes you need to load that main gear ahead of time. So we're just going to pull this out so we can make sure that we get grease on the main gear. We already put grease onto the pinion gear, and we're going to put grease onto the drive side for the crosswind block. We'll put that in next. Put the bushing on, and then we can put our side case on, because that should be about the bottom of it. And let's grab those side plate screws. Put that on. So I think for the most part we've got this, other than we're missing that little cap for the bail there. I'm gonna have to go find out where that went, if it was included. And if not, I think Willie's gonna have to do a search on the home side. We do have the 3 side plate screws. And this is why taking a video is important. I'm gonna go back to the start of this video. I'm gonna see when we empty the bag out, whether that piece was there or not. If that piece was there, then it's got to be on my bench somewhere. If that piece wasn't there, then it's got to be on Willie's bench somewhere. Alright, so I think we got all the pieces and parts together on this one. Save this piece here. And go put the spool on, put the handle on. Let's see what happens. Spool is on. Drag adjuster knob. Handle screw, and we're going to see. Give it a spin. There you go, Willie. We're back in business. The only problem now being I got to find that side plate, whether you have it or I have it. So let's give it a quick one. You're going to see it's going to wrap and trip. I don't want to hit it too hard because we're probably going to spring the spring here, but it is working. Tighten that drag down. There you go, drags down. Anti-reverse override functions. Again, one more time, we'll just live dangerously here. That's clicking, and again, we've got to find the piece that looks like this for that side. and yeah, they went back together. I have one small screw here. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not going to hang around on the camera. Oh, I know exactly what that is. That screw is going to hold the piece on here. No, nope, it's not going to do that. It's too thin a set. But we'll find it. If it's here, we'll find it. If it's not here, Willie will find it. So that's it. That's how you kind of put it back together again, a Humpty Dumpty story reassembled. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Again, to the first responders out there, thank you for all you're doing, for your efforts to keep us safe. And for the rest of us, we just need to follow what their advice is, stay safe, stay isolated as possible, and where you can, please wear masks and take the proper precautions so that we can beat this thing. All right, that's Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great day.